Hello and welcome to Smash Writing. And today we're going to be talking about a recently released movie called The First Omen. And I was excited to a point and skeptical to another point. I was excited because I really do enjoy the first Omen movie. I even enjoyed the remake Omen. I'm not going to go too much into that. Maybe one day we're going to be doing a remake versus original for that. And maybe I thought we already did. That's why we didn't do it beforehand. It's on me though. Anyway, but my problem is I don't really like prequels. Out of the three things you can get, a sequel, a remake, or a prequel, I really don't like prequels. More often than not, they miss for me. But I was excited going in. I had some hopes. Let's dive in, talk about this movie, and see if they managed to meet my hopes here. This movie kicks off. We meet Father Brennan. He's taking confession from an older priest who gives him a picture. I believe her name is Carlina. It's these two nuns and another father, it looks like. Or it could have been, it's the cardinal, but it looks like father in this picture. And baby Carlina. And he's telling the story of this birth between a woman and a monster, kind of a deal. And he needs to and he's confessing his actions in all of this, and that Father Brennan has to track this child down and stop her before Father Brennan can absolve him. I believe the word is absolve. Pretty much tell him what to do to complete his confession and be forgiven by the Lord. The old man is left, but Father Brennan does chase him down. He's trying to. He tells him like, I didn't tell you what to do yet," and the guy's like, "I don't deserve to be forgiven for what I've done." Luckily, he doesn't have to worry about that too much. The stained glass that they were working on installing on the church shatters, cracks him in the head, and we see the cut in his head after a moment of him walking, and then he smiles back at Brennan, and I get a cold feeling in my gut of what kind of movie this is going to be, and my excitement is lowering just a bit. Anyway, we jump ahead of time. We meet a woman named Margaret. I don't know what they're called before they're nuns, but she's come to Rome to take her vows. She's been with the church her whole life. She grew up in their orphanage, and we meet Gabriel and the cardinal, and they're on their way to the church, and we learn that about her backstory of being involved with church and everything. And we also learned that Rome is kind of a dangerous place right now because of a growing protest. A lot of people want workers' rights, but there are some that he's talking about the youth who do not care about the authority, and that includes the church. They're turning against the church. And they arrive to the church. She's walking around the orphanage, and we meet a Carolina who's pretty much being contained to a room because she does not get along with the others. And she bit someone the day before, but Margaret's kind of drawn to her a little bit, but she makes her leave. During this little tour, also, we meet a nun who's kind of out of her mind, and we get a really weird scene where you have the sister who's showing Margaret around, and the sister who's out of her mind on the stairs, and they keep cutting back between the two, and no one is saying anything, and this goes on like 15 seconds, it is like, either do something or cut. Good lord. But anyway, we carry on. The tour's out of the way. We jump to the night. One jump scare later, we meet her roommate, Luz, I believe her name is pronounced. This will do me in with the name thing again. I gotta get better with that. Maybe one day. But she is, while she's going for her vows, she's not as prim and proper on the roles as Margaret is. But the next day, not much happens, but we do see Carlina being dragged to the bad room, where she's being strapped to the bed because she's having a fit. But we're pulled away from that by the roommate, who takes Margaret out to the bar. some drinks, and they're dancing with these two guys, and we get some flashing lights, and we get a little moment here of like something taking over Margaret. I think is what is happening as she gets pulled into the dance floor, and we cut, and she's back at home in her bed, and we get a great shot of her in the bedroom, in the bed with her hair flared out. But according to the roommate, she saw to it that she took her home and nothing happened to her. Next day and everything after her prayers, because she's feeling really guilty about what she has done. But she's beginning to get closer to Carlina now. She's kind of feeling bad for her being the odd one out of everything, and she's starting to see a bit of herself. Because as we learned before they went to the nightclub, she was an out of control child who constantly was being penalized for being unruly and seeing things that weren't really there. We also have the return from Father Brennan, who's come to her and he warns her weird things are going to be happening around Carlina. There's something really bad going on, and you got to come meet me at this apartment. And she's thinking about it, but she's about to dismiss it when something weird happens around Carlina, and that is when Crazy Nun catches herself on fire and then hangs herself from the third story walkway in front of all the children. This is weird enough to get Margaret to go meet Father Brennan, and we learn what's happening. What's happening is there's an extremist group in the church who are not happy with everyone turning their back on the church and turning their back on the Lord. So they've taken it upon themselves to see to it that the Antichrist is born, and it'll be their attack dog in a way. They'll control him, and they'll scare everyone back to the flock. But obviously, you're not going to be able to control the Antichrist, and Father Brennan wants her to stop it. And what's happening is Carlina is going to be the mother of the Antichrist. And Margaret does not believe any of this at all. But next day, while they're out on this field trip that's interrupted by protesters, she has one of her hallucinations in the middle of all of this. And this is enough to get her in front of Mother Superior, I believe the name of that title is called, who tells her that she will not be taking her vows because of everything that's happening and the stress that's on her. And she's being instructed to stay away from Carlina. And she kind of snaps back on the mother for locking her in this room all the time, and that's why she's acting this way. But she leaves, and she's going home, and she sees the guy she was dancing with at the club. So she gets out, she goes to try to talk to him, and he freaks out immediately and tries to flee from her. And just as he's saying something about the mark, he gets hit by a truck and pinned against a wall. And she's crying and trying to console him and hugs him and rips his torso off on the turn. And this camera shows it twice, and it lingers for way too long. I don't know if they meant for this to be comedic, but I was really I had to like bite my knuckle in the movie theater to keep myself from laughing at this image. It was just too funny, too amusing seeing her holding this half guy. It didn't work if you were trying to be scary here or trying to be disturbing. Anyway, though, now she's freaked out. Now something's happening. And during her friend's vow, she sneaks off into the Mother Superior's secret basement, and she finds files on Carlina. There are multiple Carlinas, most of which have been born these horrible mutations and abnormalities and rejected. Carlina is actually Carlina 5. And she takes all the files and she tries to escape with them and Carlina. And that's where she kind of makes a mistake, though, because she gets locked, she gets trapped in Carlina's room. She stashes the files and she gets like part of the bed frame and tries to fight him off, but she's grabbed and pulled away and locked into the bad room herself, where she starts hallucinating voices talking to her. And she is saved, though, by Gabrielle, who found the files. And the two of them go to Father Brennan's, and they start doing research trying to find out what's happening. But that's when they also find out that the Carlina in the picture is not Carlina 5. Because Carlina 5 has 666 on her head, while she saw the mark on Carlina, the teenage Carlina, on the roof of her mouth when she was getting pulled away. And they start looking some more, and sure enough, Margaret is, I'm going to guess, Carlina 1. And the impregnation has already happened. It happened the night they were drinking. They they got her drunk and dragged her off to the basement where she was impregnated by the jackal monster. So they're racing her to get them to an expert who can deal with this. But they're creamed along the way, and she has this demon moment for the ages outside this church where the belly forms, and it is baby happening time, and she is dragged off into the basement where it's forced C-section upon her, and she gives birth to twins, one girl and one boy. The exact thing they needed to happen was it had to be a boy. But she kind of tricks the cardinal into letting her hold the baby, and he gets in close, and she stabs him in the neck with a scalpel. But before she could do the same to the baby, her best friend, roommate, stabs her, and they leave her and the baby girl in the basement to burn. But no one was paying attention to Carlina 5, who rescues them out of there. So the main group, the extremists, take the baby, Damien, to where he needs to be for the Omen, while the girls make to a mountain cabin, it looks like. But Father Brennan has found them, and she's got a gun. Margaret has a gun. And she's like, get the hell out of here. And he's like, I only came to warn you that they know you're here. And they're going to send everyone up here because they can't let the girl live because she's splitting powers with him, Damien. And we actually end with the name being him saying the boy's name, Damien. Alright, let's pro and con this. No, number one biggest pro, maybe even the only pro of this movie, is Neil Tiger Free. What a goddamn name that is. My god. First we had Amber Mid Thunder, and now we got Neil Tiger Free. That's fantastic. I'm not even sarcastic. That's a great name. She is a force of nature in this movie, especially any of the times where she's kind of becoming demonic in a way. The two main ones, like her hearing the voices, that was given away in the trailer. Thanks a lot, trailer. But that was amazing. But then when she is going full bore outside the church with the babies forming, that was masterful. There wasn't even any sounds or music or score going on, and she is just going ham and putting everything. She puts everything into her performance here, but those two main scenes are fantastic. And she drags this movie from the depths of garbage, because that's where this movie was going for a long time. And we had those stupid little moments in this movie, like you had the weird pause where it's cutting between Crazy Nun on the stairs and the two down. And it's like, this is going on too long here. Like, I get it, she's out of her mind and it's awkward. They had this other, like, cut to black moments. Like, I get the blackout moment when she's drinking and then later on, but like, there was one blackout moment in this where I genuinely believed something malfunctioned in the movie theater. Like, should I go talk to somebody? And then it comes back. It's like, oh, okay, we're still here. You had weird soundtrack shit, like, I don't know how to describe it, like church, like, that's terrible. I should never do that again. But yeah, the weird soundtrack stuff going on at weird moments. It is very graphic. I'm going to put this in the pro category. Very graphic movie. Very uneasy, very, like, borderline, like, ooh, this is unnerving, gross, even. It works because of what this movie is. Like, we're learning about the mother and what we knew about the mother and the jackal. There's got to be some gross moments in this movie being what's being bred here. Nothing directly obscene. Like, you don't see anything bizarre, like the suggestion of what is about to occur or what has occurred, except for the one moment, I guess, with the one birth going on. Like, that was gross. I forgot about that. That just came back to me. That was a gross moment. I'm not going to hold it against it, though. That was gross. I'm not going to con it for that, though. like you just had the weird camera cuts and the weird blackout, the weird jump to black moments. It doesn't really work for me. Uh, the stupid, silly moments, like I said, with her holding the whole corpse, like that was supposed to be a real tense moment, a real sad moment, and it you ruined it by showing it. That she should have just been holding him while he died, pinned against the wall, not show her ripping him apart and then holding the corpse. That didn't work. That was no good. Well, I did focus the attention on Neil Tiger Free. The other performance actors in this movie did a good job too. I'll give them that. They did a good job. I think like some of the script could have done reworking. Some of it could have been buffed up a bit more. I will say this: they kind of left the door open here for a sequel because you have the two alive, you have the baby alive, so you have a bit of competition now going on with Damien, being that he has a twin sister out there. Now I don't remember. I can't say I don't remember. I was stupid. I didn't see 2, 3, and 4 because I had a bad feeling that they weren't going to be any good, so I didn't want to waste my time with them. On hindsight, if I thought about it, I would have done those reviews leading into it, but I didn't. To be fair, though, with what they've set up, I would still go see the sequel, especially if Neil Tiger Free's in this movie, in the sequel. I will go. But with that said, I can't give you any higher than a C. I can't give us any higher than a C minus. Honestly, it probably deserves a worse grade. But Neil Tiger Free pulls this out of the graveyard. And with that, I'll bid you adieu. Have a good night and bye bye.